Om Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhan Vitamscha Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananganashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanda Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasari Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Nama Iva Kevalam Kalo Nastyeva Gatiranyatha. Welcome again, everyone. Some more have joined since I just started. Welcome Annapurna, Gauranarayana, Sakyarati Shama, Moto, and Maharaha. Welcome everyone. It's nice to be back here with everyone. If you want to put on your video camera, I don't mind it at all. I like it very much. But it's fine like this as well, if that suits you better. Ah, nice. It's nice to get the darshan of the Vaishnavas. It is very nice. We have reached the fourth verse of the Sri Manah-Siksa, the instructions to the mind by Raghunatha Dasa Goswami. Verses 4 through 7, in one sense, all deal with problems, obstacles. And each verse will bring out a particular problem or set of problems and also offer solutions. So these are quite practical verses, which is nice. It's practical. It's kind of easy to understand. But it's also kind of heavy, because we'll see that these verses are not speaking about some theoretical problems that somebody we've heard about once had, but they're very much speaking about us. I very much felt like these verses were speaking about me when I was reading them and preparing. So we'll have to be ready to feel a little bit ashamed when we read these verses. But sometimes that's good. That's good. Sometimes people think that shame is a totally useless emotion, but it's quite often a useful emotion, as long as it doesn't paralyze us. But it's good sometimes to feel a little bit ashamed. Yeah, there's something I could do better. So let's see what Raghunatha Das has to say. And I'm planning today to go through two verses. Verses 4 and 5. And we'll see how it goes. So I'll share the screen with you again, and so we can read these verses together. So verse 4 first. Asadvarta vishya visrijamati sarvasvaharini. Asadvarta vishya visrijamati sarvasvaharani. Asadvarta vishya visrijamati sarvasvaharini. Asadvarta vishya Visrijamati sarvasvaharini katha mukti vyagrya nashunakula sarvat magilani. Katha mukti vyagrya nashrinukila sarvat magilani. Katha mukti vyagrya nashrinukila sarvat magilani. Katha mukti vyagrya nashrinukila sarvat magilani. Apityaktva lakshmi patiratimito vyomanayanim. Apityaktva lakshmi patiratimito vyomanayanim. Apityaktva lakshmi patiratimito vyomanayanim. Apityaktva lakshmi patiratimito vyomanayanim. Vraje Radha Krishnau Svarati Manidau Tvam Bhajamana. 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 This is verse 4. Asadvartavishya visrijamati sarvasvaharani. Mana was the last verse, the last word of the last line. My mind, oh my mind. So Raghunatha Das is continuing here, of course, speaking to his mind. And the first thing he says is visrija. Completely give up, throw away, give up. Asadvartavishya, the prostitute of bad talk. Veshya means a prostitute or a courtesan. And this, of course, is a metaphor here. The prostitute of asatvarta or untrue talk. Sat in Sanskrit means true, it means existing, it means eternal, it means real. So asat is its opposite. Everything that is unreal, that is impermanent, that's asat. So Raghunatha Das says, give up this useless talk. Asat also means useless. Give up useless talk because mati sarvasvagilani, it will take over your whole mind, mati or intellect. Now, why does he compare this useless talk to a prostitute? Well, just like we can imagine all kinds of prostitutes, from the heroin junkie prowling the streets to a very refined courtesan in some court or something like this. In the same way, there's all kinds of useless, untrue, temporary talk in this world. When Raghunatha Das was living himself in Jagannath Puri in the direct company of Mahaprabhu, he was, as I said the first time, he was trained by Swarupa Damodar. He was living together with Swarupa Damodar, who was his mentor and who was teaching him everything. But he very much wanted to have some direct instructions from Mahaprabhu himself. And Mahaprabhu always said, there's no need. Swarupa Damodar can tell you everything. But he very much wanted something directly from Mahaprabhu. So finally Mahaprabhu said, very well, I'll teach you some things. And if you read the Chaitanya Charitamrita, you know the teachings he gave. Seemingly very simple instructions. He said, Gramya kathana shunibe. Don't listen to village talk. Village talk, Gramya katha, means gossip. But it also refers to all kinds of worldly talk. And this can be just like there can be very different types of courtesans and prostitutes. Village talk or worldly talk, asadvarta, can refer to everything from discussing where to kill somebody next time to very cultured, very nice things. But unless it's connected with spirit, unless it's connected with true in the sense of eternal topics, it's all asadvarta. And Raghunatha Dasa is saying, give up all of this because it will take away your mind. How will it take away the mind? Because the mind, the human mind, is very adaptable sense organ. It will adapt itself to whatever content we give it. I know this very well myself. Whatever I kind of engage my mind in, that's what I'm going to be thinking of. Whatever I listen to, whatever I watch or read, that is what's going to fill my mind, not only for the time when I'm reading or watching or listening, but afterwards as well. When Game of Thrones was big and sent on TV, I watched that. It was very exciting, but I wasn't watching it only when I was seeing it literally in front of my eyes. I was thinking about Daenerys and all of these Starks and all of these characters outside it as well. And similarly, if I read a novel, if I play a computer game or whatever, it will take my mind in that particular direction. And not everything is the same, of course. There's a difference between Keeping Up with the Kardashians and Anna Karenina. But it's all, in one sense, the same, because it's all asatvarta. Yes, the particular makeup of the gunas may be slightly different, but it's still the world of the gunas. It's still the world of prakriti, the world of matter. So Raghunatha says, first of all, give up this courtesan. What's the problem with the courtesan? What's the problem with the prostitute? She will take. She's not there for you. The simple man, it's usually a man in the stories, will think that she actually loves him. She doesn't. She wants to get his money. So the same with all of these things, whether it is Keeping Up with the Kardashians or Anna Karenina, from the spiritual point, they're not going to give us anything. And of course, it's very easy to understand that those forms of asadvarta that are mainly dealing with tamas and rajas are to be given up. But even the, so to say, cultured, fine forms, even they are to be given up. So what Raghunath Das here is proposing is something very, very radical. Give up worldly topics. We may not be ready for it completely, but we should take seriously what he's saying. And I'm sure we all have the experience. The more we fill our minds with worldly topics, the more worldly we will be, even outside of that particular listening or watching or seeing context. So this is the first thing. This asadvarta can also be compared to the world of karma. Give up the world of karma. Give up the world of worldly action, worldly rituals even. all of this is ultimately useless on the path of bhakti. And then Raghunatha Dasa Goswami goes on, he says, Katha mukti viragriya na shrinu kila sarvat magilani. Also give up the tigress of talk about liberation, because she will swallow up your whole self. So if this worldly talk was bad, talk of mukti, talk of liberation, is even worse. And this may come as a shock, of course, to a person who has some understanding of the Indian wisdom traditions. How can mukti be such a problem? Shouldn't mukti be a good thing? Mukti means liberation from suffering, liberation from the different things that bind us right now and make us think that we are limited and impure and sinful and whatever. Wouldn't it be great to get rid of all of that? But Raghunatha says no. Because mukti, liberation, as it's usually understood, and of course the scriptures tell us that there are different types of mukti, not all of which are as detrimental for bhakti. But as mukti is usually understood, mukti refers to liberation, or what Vaishnavas sometimes call impersonal liberation, merging into God. As the Upanishads say, as a river merges into the ocean. This implies a suspension or a loss of one's individuality. And for a bhakta, that's the worst thing that could happen. Because without individuality, there's no possibility for love. Yes, we do say that in love, two persons become one. But they become one for a moment. And then they need to again separate into two for the love to kind of continue. They become one, like my Guru Maharaj likes to say, in the sense of becoming we. It's not just you and me, it's us. But this us or this we implies that there's some difference as well. Some people might think that loving yourself is the supreme type of love, but I don't think many of us would agree with that. Love implies some kind of duality, some kind of difference between the lover and the beloved. And the two of them coming together and then in a kind of dance moving away from each other, then again coming together. So mukti, liberation, at least as it's usually understood, means losing this opportunity for bhakti. And that's why Raghunatha Das says that this kind of talk of mukti, that will swallow up your whole self. Sarvat magilani, like a huge tiger coming and eating you up. So we go from the prostitute to the tiger. And sometimes we wonder why the acharyas, why the preceptors speak so much about the dangers of this idea of liberation. But I think one of the main things is that in many ways it's such a beguiling prospect. If we don't think as of mukti as liberation, but as freedom from everything. No longer do you need to do anything. Nobody is there to tell you what to do. There's no suffering, no hankering, just a perfect peace. And if you're very much caught up in strife, in anxiety and so on, this is very tempting. It's very tempting. If we think of a person like Raghunatha Das, living very simply, there's mosquitoes, there's hot, there's cold, there's disease. All of these things might be seen as hindrances for bhakti. A person might think that if I just got rid of all of this, then my bhakti would be so great. Or a person might think, if I didn't have this stupid family here around, or if I didn't have to go to that work, or if it wasn't so cold, or if it wasn't so rainy, or if it wasn't so sunny, then I could do bhakti. This is the hankering for liberation, the hankering for liberation from whatever we think is hindering us right now. But as long as we think like this, we're losing the focus from what we're actually doing. And we're losing the understanding of whatever obstacles there are right now. They are meant to challenge us. They are meant to make us grow. And of course, this is much easier said than done. I realize that as well as anybody else. But Raghunath Das, he's saying that this very strongly. Avoid this kind of talk. Avoid this talk of liberation, because it's going to sidetrack you. What he's interested in here is exclusive devotion, exclusive bhakti to Radha and Krishna. So this worldly talk, yes, obviously that's going to sidetrack us from it. But so will also this kind of talk of liberation. Give up this as well. And almost shockingly, he doesn't stop here. He says, Apityaktva lakshmi patirati mito vyomanayami. Even give up love for the husband of Lakshmi, who will take you to Vaikuntha or Vyoma, Paravyoma, the next world. Give up Vishnu. What kind of Vaishnavism is this? Vaishnavism is supposed to be worship of Vishnu. And now he's saying, give up Vishnu. What kind of talk is this? This is exclusive worship of Radha and Krishna. Yes, Vishnu and Vishnu and Krishna, they are one and the same in one sense, in the sense that they are both Bhagavan. But they are different in the sense of the particular types of relationships that their bhaktas, their devotees have towards them. And while many Vaishnavas do worship many forms of the Lord, they might worship Vishnu, Narasingha, Varaha, Rama, Krishna, and have an altar with so many different forms of the Lord, and perhaps also Shiva and Ganesha and so on. And there's nothing really wrong with that. It's actually quite good and very beautiful. It is not the path of Raghunatha Das Goswami. Raghunatha Das's path is focused exclusively on Radha Krishna. Not because he hates Vishnu, not because he hates Varaha or Narasingha or anything like that, but because this is where he's focusing his love. This particular understanding of Bhagavan is the one that he's interested in. So in order to reach that, we'll have to give up the world of karma, we'll have to give up the world of jnana leading to mukti, liberation, but we'll also have to give up other types of bhakti, because you can be a bhakta of Vishnu or Narasingha and so on, and it's beautiful and it's nice in so many different ways, but it's something else than what he's teaching. He's teaching, again, as I said last time, something that we could correctly call a very sectarian type of love of God. He's not interested in love of God in a general, vague sense of, I want to somehow turn my gaze upwards. He's interested in a very concrete and exact type of love of God. And this is what he says in the last line. Vraje Radha Krishna Svarati Manidau Tvam Bhajamana. Oh my mind. In Vrindavan, worship Bhaja. Worship Radha and Krishna Svarati Manidau, because they are the ones who can give the money, the jewel, money means a jewel or a gemstone, of love for themselves. So focus on this divine couple, the Jugala, the couple of Radha and Krishna. Now this worship of Radha and Krishna together as a divine pair, this is very characteristic of Raghunatha Dasa's writing. When we compare his writing with that of Rupa and Sanatan, his senior contemporaries, we can see that they very often speak, particularly Sanatana Goswami, quite often speaks about Krishna, Rupa Goswami as well, in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. It's a lot about Krishna. But for Raghunath Das, it's always about Radha and Krishna. It's always about Radha and Krishna for him. And we'll get to the implications of this in later verses of the Manah-Siksa, but we've seen this already several times. Radha Krishna, Vraja Navayuva Dvandva, and so on. This divine couple is the focus. So the problem is, in this verse, the worlds of karma and jnana and bhakti to some other form of the Lord. And the solution is to take exclusive shelter of Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. Now, what does this mean in actual life, in practical terms? Does it mean that a Gaudiya Vaishnava who's following in the path of Raghunath Das cannot have a picture of Narasingha on the altar? Or does it mean that such a devotee shouldn't celebrate the appearance day of Varahadeva? Or what does it actually mean? It can be understood like that. There are some Vaishnavas who are so exclusively devoted to Radha and Krishna that they completely leave away all other forms of Bhagavan. This tilaka is that I'm wearing now is made with Gopi Chandana from Dwaraka. And Dwaraka, of course, is outside of Vrindavan. It's not the place of Radha and Krishna. It is the usual material for tilaka. But some devotees are so exclusive that they will say that I will never touch Gopi Chandana because it's from Dwaraka. Instead, I will make my tilaka with mud from Radhakund. So some take it very kind of extremely in this way. But there's also other ways to view it. You can also think that all these other forms of Bhagavan, they are all reminding you of Radha and Krishna. So not all devotees following in this path are as extreme as that. Nevertheless, if the problem is karma, jnana, and other forms of bhakti, the solution is focusing on Radha and Krishna. Focusing on Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. Let's go on to the next verse. Asacheshta kashta pradavikata pashalibiriha. Asacheshta kashta pradavikata pashalibiriha. Asacheshta kashta pradavikata pashalibiriha. Asacheshta kashta pradavikata pashalibiriha. Prakamam kamadi prakatapatha pati vyatikarai. 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 Vale badvahanyeham iti bakabidvartma pagane. Vale badvahanyeham iti bakabidvartma pagane. Gale badva hanye ham iti bakabhidvar mapagane kurutvam bhutkaran navati sayatha tvam mana ita. Kurutvam bhutkaran navati sayatha tvam mana ita. Kurutvam bhutkaran navati sayatha tvam mana ita. Kurutvam bhutkaran avati sayatha tvam mana ita. So verse 5 continues with obstacles. We had the obstacles of worldly talk of liberation, and other bhakti paths in the previous verse. Here we have the obstacles of dacoits on the path of bhakti. When we advance on the path of bhakti, many amazing things happen to us. Many amazing things. We learn so many things. We feel immediately from the beginning kind of purification happening in us. Different types of realization dawning. So many nice things happen, but there are also some less happy things that might happen to us on the path. One of these things is described in this verse. On this beautiful path of devotion, we can be attacked by dacoits. Dacoits or robbers. If we imagine Raghunatha Dasa's India of the 16th century, a real danger when traveling on a road outside of your home village was being attacked by robbers, like thugs or dacoits, who could rob you of everything you had and even kill you. So Raghunath Das is saying here, he's speaking to his mind, I have been attacked on this path by the dacoits of kama, kamadi, of lust and so on. And they had tied ropes around my neck. These ropes are made by asat-cheshta, by my bad deeds. They have tied these ropes of my bad deeds around my neck and they are killing me. Hanye ham. I'm being killed, he's saying. I'm being killed. Raghunath Das is saying, oh my mind, you should shout like this. Help, I'm being killed by these robbers. Bhaka bidvartma pagane, kurutvam putkaran. Shout out like this. To Bhaka bidvartma pagane, to the people who protect the path of the killer of Bhaka. Vartmapa means a path protector. It means a police or a guard. So call out to the guards of Bhagabid, and they will come and they will liberate you from these robbers. So who are these robbers? Kamadi. Kama is the first. Lust. Lust, of course, refers to all kinds of hankering, or trishna, or tanha, all kinds of feelings and activities where we're thinking, I want. Atmindriya pritivancha tara boli kama, Krishna Das Kaviraj says. Kama, or lust, is trying to gratify your senses. Whether it is the sense of sight or smell or whatever, when we're thinking that I want, that's lust. Krishnendriya pritivancha, tara boli prem. When we want to gratify Krishna's senses, the Lord's senses, that's called prema, or love for God. So karma is the first one. Now, we might think, yes, I understand that karma could be a problem. Lust can be a problem. But how is lust really a problem of the path of bhakti? Of course, lust can lead you to do stupid things. Lust can lead you to engage in sinful behavior. But what has that actually to do with bhakti? Sin is something that is relating to the path of karma, the path of good and bad deeds. How is lust or sin a problem of the path of bhakti? Well, you can think of it in several different ways. But one is that it will lead you to commit aparadhas. It will lead you to commit offenses towards Vaishnavas. Doing a sin is a problem, of course, in different ways. But it's much less of a problem of the path of bhakti than committing offenses towards Krishna or towards other Vaishnavas or towards other living beings for that matter. Let's say that I would become completely overwhelmed by lust, sexual lust. And reading about that prostitute in the previous verse would turn my mind in crazy ways, and I would go to a prostitute. That would be a sinful thing from the perspective of dharma. And that's not good on the path of bhakti. But a much worse thing than that would be that it would, of course, be an offense towards my Vaishnavi wife. It would be a Vaishnava aparad towards her. So seemingly kind of ordinary things like lust, anger, and so on, they're not divorced from the path of devotion because they will all impact on the path of devotion in different ways. Anger, I get angry with other Vaishnavas. I might also be led to commit offenses towards them. If I become greedy, lobha, I might also do things that would be hurtful to other Vaishnavas. If I become illusioned, moha, I can start to think that I'm a great Vaishnava, I'm a superior Vaishnava, you should all bow down to me. Krishna Jivani, why are you not bowing down to my lotus feet? This would also be offensive. So all of these things, kama, krodha, lobha, moha, matsarya, enviousness, all of these things are problems because they lead to bad karmic results. But even more than that, they're problems because they lead to offenses on the path of bhakti, offenses towards the Lord and offenses towards the Vaishnavas. And as Vaishnavas, we should be particularly scared of this. We should be very careful about this. To not offend other Vaishnavas. It's very easy because we live to do that, because we live in an age that is a very critical age. Unless you're a critical person, you're not really a very smart person. A person who is taking everything very uncritically is basically a stupid, uneducated person. A sign of being intelligent is that you're critical of everything. You don't accept anything without scrutinizing it yourself. And if you see that somebody is doing something good, then you understand that actually it's just a sham and there must be something bad behind it. Of course, many times it is like this. But as Vaishnavas, we should be very careful not to kind of fall into this trap of thinking, this is how you show that you're an intelligent person, by criticizing others and pointing out their flaws. In this way, we will all, in some cases, perhaps we need to do that if we are a teacher or if we have a a relationship of somehow we are bound by duty or something like this towards the other person. But in most cases, criticizing will never lead to anything positive from the bhakti perspective. So what is criticism? Criticism is quite often an easy and kind of practical definition of should I say this criticism to somebody else about, let's say, Karen? Should I talk with my wife, gossip about this thing about Karen? Is it something that is just stating a fact, or is it a criticism that is not useful for my spiritual path? An easy way to judge that is to think, would I be able to say that to Karen like this, face to face? If I wouldn't be able to do that, then I shouldn't say it behind her back either. This is something most of us will need to work a lot with, because we're so accustomed to this kind of talk. So give up these kind of things. And how do we do that? If we are beset by these tugs of lust, anger, and so on, how do we get rid of this? Well, we can think of how Krishna speaks about this in the Bhagavad Gita. Who remembers the verses? Dhyayato vishayam pumsam sangasteshu pajayate. Shamananda? Maharha knows these verses, I'm sure. Second chapter, verses, I think 62 and 63. Do you remember them, Maharha?
I've heard it, but I don't remember with the English now. I'm sorry. My husband is better at it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yayato vishayam
pumsam
sangasteshu pajayate.
Sangasteshu pajayate.
Sangat sanjayate.
Sangat sanjayate kama.
Kamat krodho bujayate.
Kamat krodho bujayate.
Krodat amohat smriti vibrama. Smriti bramshat buddhinasho buddhinashat pranashyati. Sangat sanjayate kama. Kama, lust, desire. We can translate kama perhaps better as desire. Desire comes from sangha, from association. Like we see something, we see an advertisement. Oh, I want that. Then different things can come from that. First, this kind of desire. I want to have that as well. I would like to have that thing or that person or that position or whatever. Maybe we don't get it. Maybe we want to have it, but our effort, our karma, whatever, doesn't allow us to obtain it. Krodha, anger. Why is life so unfair? Or perhaps we do get it, and then we instead get lobha, greed. This is mine, my precious. Don't you try to take it away. And then it continues like this. It's a kind of a step-by-step attachment, desire, anger, and so on and so on and so on. You can study these verses in the Bhagavad Gita if you want to get the whole picture. But the point is, one way of dealing with these things, of course, is to try to understand this philosophically. Anger comes from frustration. Anger comes from not getting what I wanted, or perhaps fearing that I will lose it. So then, by understanding all of these things, you also kind of create this inner space that you need to not take these kind of impulses so seriously. For example, you might feel the emotion of anger arising in you because you're frustrated. Just before this class, I went out with my family to do some shopping. And I'm really bad at shopping. I totally suck at shopping. I get very kind of exhausted and tired after just 2 stores or 3. And I think we went to 4, and it was so difficult. And I was feeling this kind of irritation. And sometimes I'm able to, yes, I have this feeling, and there's nothing I really can do about that. It's not that I'm a bad person. It's just a reaction that my body and my mind creates in these kind of situations. But I don't necessarily need to act on it. So I don't need to kind of speak angry words or do angry things. To have those feelings, there's nothing wrong with that. But then acting on them, that can then lead in less good directions. So that's one way to kind of think of it philosophically like this and try to kind of be aware of your own reactions. But that's not what Raghunatha Das is recommending here. Here he says, call out to the police. Like if you're being attacked by robbers. Help, police, help me. What is the police that you're calling for? You're calling for the servants of Bhakabid, the servants of Krishna, the Vaishnavas. Come and help me, please. I'm being attacked by anger, by lust, by greed, by enviousness, by all these unworthy characteristics of a Vaishnava. Come and help me. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, we should cry out to the superlative devotees, to the great devotees like Prabhupada or our spiritual masters. Come and help. Please help me. I'm in trouble here. They have bound me around the neck. My bad deeds bound me around the neck, and they are pulling me. And who knows what they're going to do with me? Help me. And if we don't have those kind of Vaishnavas around us, those superlative Vaishnavas around us, let's call out to the other kind of middling Vaishnavas. Help! And if we don't have those Vaishnavas around us, let's call out to any Vaishnavas to come and help us. Because Vaishnavas are, like in the prayer, they're like desire trees in the sense that they lift us up just by being in their company. We all have that experience. When we stay together with other Vaishnavas, either virtually, just like now, that's why I like so much that many of you put on your videos, because then I can kind of feel it even more stronger. It lifts us up. We feel that perhaps I'm a Vaishnava myself also. When I see people like Krishna Jivani or Sakyarati or Haripriya, I feel like, wow, I want to be like them. And I am a little bit like you people in your company. So this is very important, to seek the shelter of the Vaishnavas, to feel that this is our refuge from these robbers of anger and so on. Yes, it's good, all this philosophy, all of this, trying to kind of understand myself and so on. That's good, but even better is to just shout out for help. Help me! We can try this. Really, we can try this. Next time we're in trouble, next time we feel that, I don't know what to do. I don't know. How can I, this anger issue or this issue of lust or this issue of greed or envy or whatever. Help me, Shamananda. To call out to each other. Maybe not publicly like this, but privately. And of course, we're unlucky in the sense that we're living in these corona times when we can't meet each other physically. But on the other hand, we're very lucky in the sense that we can meet each other virtually like this. We have people here from many different countries and different continents, and it's amazing that we can all be together here. Like Kalpataru is here from Poland, Karen and Ola from Denmark, Sakyarati Shama from Sweden, Haripriya from Finland, and so on and so on. Meeting together like this and feeling some enthusiasm, feeling some help from each other. We should make use of this. So Raghunatha Das is saying, when you're being attacked on the highway, there is help to be had. That's the problem in this verse. When being attacked by all these robbers, call out to the Vaishnavas for help. So the position of the Vaishnavas cannot be overstated on the path of bhakti. We have Vaishnavas. We are devotees of Radha and Krishna, but we are not interested only in me and Radha Krishna, but we're interested in entering the divine play of Radha and Krishna, their divine Leela, which is a Leela full of persons, full of people. We'll get there by and by when we get further on in these verses. We'll hear about the gopis, the manjaris, and all of these things. But we're not only interested in people in that world, we're interested in people in this world as well, all the other Vaishnavas. So we're not interested only in our personal relationship with Krishna. We're interested in serving Krishna together with other Vaishnavas, both in the next world and in this world. So these were verses 4 and 5 of Raghunatha Dasa Goswami's Manah-Siksa. Any questions or comments this time? Everything is clear and easy. That's good. Very good. Kanram, no?
No questions so far, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you. So tomorrow is the Vyasa Puja day of spiritual master of many of us, Srila Bhaktivedanta Tripurari Maharaj. I hope to meet all of you at the class then. And I understand that there's also some talk of an informal gathering. Is it after the class or before it? How was it? Sakyarati, I see you're nodding.
Yeah, it's after the class.
After the class.
I can send you the link.
Yeah, it's there on the Sri Chaitanya Sangha Europe page, isn't it? Yeah. I'm not 100% sure if I will be able to participate. I have to go to the countryside with my mother back and forth, but I hope to be. And then on Sunday, of course, the festivities continue, because then we're celebrating Sri Gaura Purnima, the appearance day of Mahaprabhu, and there will be classes both by Guru Maharaj and by Padmanabh Maharaj as well. So there's many things to look forward to in the upcoming days. And then on Monday, the ordinary classes continue on. So I hope to see you on many of these classes. Jai Shri Guru Gauranga Gandhar Vikiri Shri Radha Mohan Radha Govinda Radha Gopinatha Radha Damara Radha Sham Sundara Radha Ramara Radha Gokulananda Radha Madhava Bhrighupada Jai Go Shri Sadguru Giriraj Ki Jai Jai Vishnupada Paranga Samparavrajacharya Stotra Shri Shimad Bhaktivedanta Tripurari Dev Goswami Maharaj Shila Gurudev Ki Jai Jai Nitya Pravishtam Vishnupada Bhai Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Shila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Nitya Pravishtam Vishnupada Bhakti Rakshak Shri Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Nitya Pravishtam Vishnupada Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Shila Prabhupada Thakur Ki Jai Jai Gaur Kishodas Babri Maharaj Ki Jai जय सच्चिदानंदमय ठाकुर भक्ति विनोद की जय। जय वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथ दास बाबा जी महाराज की जय। जय गौरी अनंताचार्य श्री बल्लभ विभूषण प्रभु की जय। जय विश्वनाथ चक्रवर्ती ठाकुर की जय। जय श्रीनिवास श्यामानंद नरोत्तम प्रभु त्रय की जय। जय कृष्णदास कविराज गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। जय व्यासावतार श्री वृंदावन दास ठाकुर महाशय की जय। जय श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्ट दास रघुनाथ गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय। जय दास गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय। जय नमाचार्य श्री हरदास ठाकुर की जय। जय स्वरूप दामोदर राय रामानंद हरि गौर पार्षद की जय। जय प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण जय तन्न प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासरि श्री गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। जय श्री अंतर्द्वीप मायापुर सीमांत द्वीप मध्य द्वीप कोल द्वीप रेतु द्वीप चानु द्वीप मध्य द्वीप मोहतर द्वीप कोद्र मध्य द्वीप रुद्र द्वीपात्मक श्री नवद्वीप धाम की जय। जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गो गोवर्धन द्वादश वनात्मक श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय। द्वादश उपवान की जय। जय राधिकुंड श्यामकुंड गंगा तुला यमुना तुलसी भक्ति देवी की जय। जय पुरुषोत्तम धाम की जय। जय जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्र सुदर्शन की जय। जय भक्त विघ्न विनाशन कर सिंहदेव भगवान की जय। जय भक्त बराबर प्रहलाद महाराज की जय। चार वैष्णव संप्रदाय की जय। चार वैष्णवाचार्य की जय। चार धाम की जय। चार वेद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। अकर मत राज श्री चैतन्य मत की जय। तरिया शाखा मत सुनो की जय। श्री चैतन्य संघ की जय। अनंत गुद वैष्णव वृंद की जय। भुवन मंगल हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय। अनंत गुद वैष्णव वृंद की जय। समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल।
श्रीमन Bhrighupada प्रभु की जय।
Jai.
Jai. See you all. Haribo.